Chris Sims is now reporting that if Dak were to sign for 5 years, he wants to get paid $45 million for that fifth season. $45 million. Shannon, should Jerry Jones give him what he wants?
Skip, Jerry has no one to blame. The Cowboys have no one to blame for this predicament except the Cowboys because they let Dak get to the end of his contract. Not only to the end, I'm talking about to the punctuation, the end. If you look at it and everybody's like, well, look at Carson Wentz, look at Jared Goff. Remember now, they signed going into their fourth year, and they had the fifth-year option. They let Dak get to the complete end of his contract. So, Skip, he does not have a fifth-year option. And everybody realizes is that when you do a contract extension, you give up something because you gain long-term security. What did Dak have? What did Dak give up? They made Dak play that contract out. They made Dak run the risk of injury. And so Dak says, I'm unwilling to give you a deal that Carson Wentz and Jared Goff gave his teams because they came to them with years left on their contract. You made me play this out. Skip, the cap has gone up roughly about $10 million every year. This year, it was $198.2. So basically, in 5 years from now, you're looking at $250 million for the cap. Now, 5 years ago, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL was Aaron Rodgers at $22 million. Today, currently, it's Russell Wilson at $35 million. So if you take, say, Russell Wilson's contract right now, Skip, and you say it's $35 million, in 5 years, that's going to be $48 million. So Dak is saying, if you want that fifth year, you're gonna have to make it you're gonna have to make it right for me. See, Jerry wants to control it. Jerry wants, okay, let me pay you this, which is really less than market value. Let me give you guaranteed, which is less than what a free agent should get, and let me give you less fully guaranteed. Skip, you remember 3 years ago, First Cousins got $84 million fully guaranteed. Well, he did 2 years of that deal. They went back, redid it. So now when it's all said and done, he's about to have 5 years fully guaranteed money. Jerry wants Dak, after going through what he went through, to give him a deal comparable to what Goff and Wentz gave their teams when he made him play this out, Skip. If I'm Dak, Dak says, look, if you want the fifth year, this is what it's going to cost you. If you don't want to do the fifth year, which is totally your option, do the 4-year deal. But Dak is not going to make any concessions, Skip. And I've been reading Twitter and reading these inbox. Well, they should let Dak test the free agent market. That's a novel way to think right now, considering everybody's had their draft, everybody's set their roster. If you really wanted to know what Dak was worth, you should not have put the tag on him. Let him become an unrestricted free agent. Then and only then, you could have saw what Dak's worth was, and then you could have either maxed it or you could have let it go. But you didn't do that. And so now you feel you backed him in a corner because you have Andy Dalton and there's nowhere else for him to go. But Dak, in order to see this thing through, he's going to have to stand pat.
So did you just suggest that Dak Prescott is better than Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson?
That's not that. Hold on. We're talking about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, if you look at where Dak Prescott is not, and I'm not saying he's better than Aaron Rodgers, but I'm saying if you look at 5 years ago what he was doing as opposed to what Russell's doing, Skip, yeah, I believe, and he's gotten better. You see, you talked to me yesterday, Shannon, say you can't call him Dink and Dak. Well, the reason why Jerry is holding pat to where he's offering is because he still looks at Dak as that first and second year guy. When he was 23rd, 25th, and all those other categories, now he's a proven passer. And Jerry does not want to amend the money that he's making based on what he's become, not what he was.
Okay, I have so much to say that I don't know where to start, but I better start from the start. Let's go back to the Chris Sims report, because it is the very first reporting, quote unquote, of any kind we've had on what Dak and his new agent, Todd France, are asking for. This is the first little sliver of reporting. And Chris Sims is not an investigative reporter. I'm sure he has his sources. I don't know if those sources are in Jerry's camp or in Dak's camp, but this is the first time in a year and maybe 3 months that this has been going on that we even had a tiny, tiny bit of some kind of reporting about what Dak is asking for. You keep saying, they made him, they forced him, they pushed him. Baloney! It's how much he's asking for. Jerry Jones' MO, his track record, his history shows you he routinely overpays his stars. Is Dak a big... No, he has earned his spurs, but he is not proven to be a top 10 quarterback yet. I think he has a good chance to prove that, but not yet. But now we hear from Chris Sims that if there's a fifth year involved, that Dak Prescott wants, it wasn't just 45, it's north of 45. 46, 47, I don't know, 48. And that brings into question the most key point of all, Shannon Sharpe. How much are they asking for in the first 4 years? If they want 4 versus Jerry wants 5, what do you think the ask is? Is it at least $40 million a year for the first 4 years? You better believe it is. I've told you that from the start. The money we're talking about here is the kind of money that Patrick Mahomes and his agent, Lee Steinberg, haven't even thought of asking the Chiefs for yet. I believe that on a daily basis, they're reading these updates on Dak. They're reading Chris Sims saying north of 45 in the 5th year. And they're thinking, my God, the bar is going to get set to the moon, maybe to the sun, because Dak Prescott has not proven to be Patrick Mahomes, obviously. So if Dak Prescott gets a deal that goes 40, 40, 41, 42, 48, whatever it is, over a 5-year stretch, Patrick Mahomes is going to say, we just hit the lottery. I've proven so much more. I actually got to and won a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott is 1 and 2 in the postseason. I'm going to remind everybody that just last August, Dak Prescott didn't even make the NFL's top 100 players voted on by the players. And guess what my partner Shannon Sharpe said the next day after that broke? He said, hooray for those players. He's not a top 100 player. Aha. So he's not top 100. Wait. His team went 8-8. He had some really bad games down the stretch, especially at New England and at Philadelphia. He did not make the Pro Bowl. And all of a sudden, you're talking about 40s and all the way up to maybe 48 million. It's out of bounds. It's outrageous. It's out of line. It's what is holding up this deal. It's just completely unrealistic for a quarterback I love. But I can't say that he should be paid far more than Patrick Mahomes is even thinking of asking for. Go ahead.
Skip, we don't know what Patrick Mahomes is thinking about, but Skip, you have to understand, you have to include the rate of inflation. Now, Jerry Jones' value of the franchise is going up. The salary cap is going up. In other words, he wants to pay Dak Prescott 35, 35, 35, 35. Skip Bayless, you know good and well, in 5 years, because there are 8 quarterbacks that average $30 million currently. So in 5 years from now, there will be 5 quarterbacks, 6 quarterbacks that average $40 million in salary. You know that. Dak says, I'm including inflation into my contract. You, Skip, the 5th year, Jerry does not have to do the 5th year. If that's such an astronomical number, don't do it. Let's keep the 4 years on the table. And I'm getting more than what Wentz and Goff got for the simple fact they had a 5th year option. You gave them security when they were already under contract. You made me play the contract out, and I had no security. See, if I got hurt, I'm out of luck. Now you want me to give you a discount. I cannot do that, Jerry, in good conscience, because you showed me no favor.
Okay. The problem I'm having with everything you're saying, you keep putting the blame all on Jerry. according to the reports, we do have this from many sources, the deal on the table right now from Jerry to Dak is in the $36 million range for 5 years, an average of, with around $110 million guaranteed. To me, and again, I get your projections, I get your inflation, but to me, for what Dak has accomplished, and even given what I think he could accomplish, that's a very fair deal. Even that overthecap.com, when it does its projections, that's where it has Dak slotted in. That's a very fair offer at this point in time. I get your projections, but it's hard for me to swallow your premise here because you don't even like him. You can't pay somebody top of the line money when you don't even think he's above average. You gave him Fs many times last year. I'm sorry, I don't trust what you're saying because you don't like my team and you want me to lose and you want my cap wrecked and you want dissension in my locker room. So I get where you're coming from, but I don't get where you're going because I disagree. The offer is very fair. Dak makes God knows how much money off the field with at least a dozen national TV endorsement contracts, advertisements that he does for various companies that net him a whole bunch more money that most quarterbacks in this league do not command. I'm sorry, it's time for him to compromise.
Well, see, this is what I don't get, Skip. Now, when it comes to Dak Prescott, he needs to be a top 5. There's so many players, so many quarterbacks. I forget the players. I'm just going to take quarterbacks that have gotten paid over the years that were not top 5. Matthew Stafford wasn't a top 5 quarterback. He got paid. All these guys get paid. Now you want to hold Dak to the standard. Well, Dak, you're not top 5. Tony Romo got paid. Tony Romo has never been a top 5 quarterback. Tony Romo has, and look at what he did. We keep talking about, well, Dak is not this, Dak is not that. Nobody has ever thought of Tony Romo as a top 5 quarterback. And Jerry Jones made him the highest paid without blinking an eye. And all I'm saying is, Skip, is you know how this works, Skip. Go ahead.
Okay, but it's like my mother used to tell me when I was like 5 years old. I'd say, everybody in the block is doing it. And she'd say, yeah, if their mothers told them to run and jump off the cliff, should I tell you to run and jump off the cliff like everybody else is? No. The Rams are dying right now because they overpaid Jared Goff. He's gotten exposed. He's not worthy of the deal that they gave him. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be able to live up the deal he was given. This league makes huge mistakes right and left on quarterbacks. And Jerry's saying, I'm not going to jump off the same cliff that the Rams and the Eagles jumped off of.
Well, how about I put it to you like this? Let's just say for the argument, Skip Bayless and Rick Bayless, and they go into school. Skip Bayless is getting A's. Rick Bayless is getting B's and C's. But your mom pulls out her purse, gives Rick $10, and gives Skip $5. You go like, what the hell, mama? That's what's happening, Skip Bayless. Jerry Jones reached into his pocket, made Tony Romo the highest paid player, and Dak Prescott said, well, what the hell, Jerry? Look at my numbers comparable in the first 4 years. You see what happened, Skip, is when Dak came out, he was a 4th-round pick. Okay, he got the money that he got. Okay, that's what it is. And everybody kept saying, even Skip, look at the money that they're paying Dak Prescott. He's vastly underpaid. Where was Jerry Jones when he was vastly underpaid? Said, we need to make this right. We need to amend this contract because Dak has clearly outperformed this contract. Where was Jerry then? Now, all of a sudden, it's time for him to hit that jackpot. Sweepstakes. Oh, well, you're not a top 5 quarterback. You didn't win these games. Very things that I said last year, when I said about that in New Orleans, when I said that about these other teams which he was losing, you gave him A's. You beat me up and down. Now it's time for him to get paid. You want to throw when he didn't play well against New England. He didn't play well against Philly. He had a throw he could have made in New Orleans. You come up with all these excuses that you never made during the season when he was on that bull jive contract. Now it's time for him to get paid. You come up with Shannon. Remember, you gave him an F. Yeah, I said that. But I also said that he plays a premium position. And when you play premium positions, You don't need to be Tom Brady in order to get paid. You don't need to be Joe Montana. Skip, you understand that they paid that position premium money. And he says, look at what Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill has had 8 good games, and he got $91 million guaranteed. I'm $30, $40, $50 million better than Ryan Tannehill, and I need to be compensated accordingly.
By the way, just quick aside, in 4 years of high school, I made only 1 B, and that was in driver's ed because nobody got an A in driver's ed.
I knew it.
And my parents never gave me a penny. They never gave me a penny because they didn't even know what I was doing in high school because they did not care. So just for the record, there was no incentive given to me to make all those A's in high school. And I am a very good driver. And any day you want to race on Avenue of the Stars before the show, I will meet you there, and we will have a showdown. Fast and furious showdown. Okay, back to Dak Prescott. Here's Jerry's problem. Almost every day that we get up to do this show, there's another breaking story about some new bizarre accolade that Dak is getting this offseason. I don't get it, Shannon, but all of a sudden, one day I have to hear that Dak's MVP odds have risen as high as 3rd at Caesars, at their sports book, Caesars Palace. And the next day, I have to hear that Roto World on the fantasy has now upped him to a projection of 3rd best quarterback in fantasy. What? 3rd best quarterback? Yep. And then we have to hear that Dak Prescott yesterday on some next-gen stats that NFL.com put out ranked last year somehow, some way, as the #1 deep ball thrower in all of pro football. And I'm saying, Dak? Really? I don't remember that. I don't really have a feel for that because I remember too many key throws that he missed. He missed Tavon Austin wide open at Philly on a throw that could have set up a 2-point conversion try to tie the game at 17 late in the game. He missed too many of those key, deeper throws last year. But I can't stop this runaway train of accolades, as bizarre as they might be, and yet I'm sure while Dak is bringing them to the negotiating table, Jerry, I got top 5 projections next year. You got to pay me what we're asking for. And I'm saying the reason you're projected top 5 is not all because of you, Dak Prescott. It's because of your weapons. It's mostly because C.D. Lamb fell out of the heavens into their lap at number 17 in the first round of the draft when they had him ranked 6th on their draft board overall. It changed. I told you the next day, life just changed. Well, Dak's life just changed because now all the predictions, the projections for next year, Dak could have top 5. He could have top 1 numbers. Wait a second. It's because of his weaponry. There's still that guy 21 behind him named Ezekiel Elliott. And if you put CD with Amari and Gallup, you've got nuclear firepower. You still have a top 5 offensive line. Dak should be thanking his lucky Dallas Cowboys stars that he is in such a primo position. The proverbial catbird seat is right now in Dallas, Texas, and he should be thankful. He should say, wow, I could make $36 million a year with 110 guaranteed? Oh, thank you. Where do I sign, Jerry? There should be some compromise out of being thankful for what position you're in next year. You do have a shot to win the NFC and get to the Super Bowl. Your team is that talented. There have been that many upgrades on the defensive side. Bill Barnwell on ESPN.com just released his top 10 of the offseason, who had the best off seasons. While Tampa was number 1, we'll talk about that later, Dallas was 5th. So after a slow start to the offseason, Dak Prescott, your GM, Jerry Jones, got ranked with the 5th best offseason. You should embrace that. You should embrace the offer on the table. You should compromise just a little bit. You should come off those those unrealistic out-of-bounds numbers of up into the 40s and say, okay, I'm good. I've got my endorsements, my national TV commercials. I've got weapons all around me. I've got a chance to be great. I got a new coach in Mike McCarthy, who coached Joe Montana and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I am good to go. Dak, you got to wake up. You got to calm down, and you got to say, let's go ahead and settle this right in that range that Jerry's offered, which is eminently fair, and it should conclude this deal sooner than later.
Dak said, yeah, I'd have been willing to compromise had you come to me in year 2 or 3, but you're not finna come to me at the end of year 4 when I've had to swim shark-infested water. No, there's no compromise now. He said, Skip, you're right. Jerry does have me a plethora of weapons. Skip, the military. We got the greatest military in the world, and they carry all sorts of weapons. From AKs to MR6 to AR-15 to M16. They got a lot of stuff. But there's something that will go out to NORAD that might become at a level 4, level 5, and then you can flip a button. He says, I got nuclear capabilities. All that other stuff that you got, you talk about C.D. Lamb and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper and Zeke Elliott. I'm the nuclear weapon here. I'm the quarterback. Skip Bayless has told me for over 40 years that the most important, the highest profile position in all the world is not just quarterback, it's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. What is that worth to you, Skip Bayless? Because, see, what you've had Dak. Dak is already compromised. A 4th-round pick, never making more than $2 million in salary while winning all of those games. While, by going to the Pro Bowl, by winning Rookie of the Year. Where was the compensation for that? Okay, you said you can't compensate a guy for what he's done. So in other words, Jerry Jones, really did. Skip, you and I can go back and forth, and it's great fodder for us. But at the end of the day, I'm going to break it down crystal and abundantly clear for everyone. Jerry Jones does not believe in Dak Prescott. I can't make it any clearer than that. It's as simple as that. Now, you can say he's offered him $35 million. You can say he's doing this and yada, yada, yada. And all that sounds good. But when they believe in a guy, they don't blink an eye. They don't release what the quarterback is asking for. They don't ask the quarterback that he needs to compromise to show team or he's uninterested in about winning because he's being selfish. That's not what teams do when they believe in their guy. Jerry Jones does not believe in Dak Prescott. I can't make it any clearer than that.
Wait a second. He believes in him so much that the deal on the table right now would make Dak Prescott the top paid player in the entire National Football League. And not only does Jerry believe in him, but to your point, you don't believe in him. You don't even think he's worth $35 million. We're losing track of just how much 35 is because we start talking about 45 to 48 million. It's becoming funny, baloney, monopoly money. And Shannon, in the end, Jerry does want him to be the starting quarterback. He's just saying, wait a second, you're not Tom Brady. Not yet.
I actually better right now. But anyway, Skip Bayless, you like Monopoly. You love to mention Monopoly. Well, right now, Dak Prescott owns Park Ave and Boardwalk. Boom! You got to come see me.
Monopoly. We're leaving Dak for now, guys.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.